Folks, morning. Bana nimewamisa. Nafaa kunichinjia kuku nikirudi shule. So for those of you who don't know me, focus on the voice, not the chicken. It's very tasty. My name is Baraka. Prospective fourth year medical student. Yeah, for those who know me, don't worry. I'm still Baraka. I'm not changed. But let's not focus on chicken. Let's focus on the matter at hand. And that is poster making. I trust that God will use whatever knowledge or kidogo knowledge that I've been able to acquire through, I think meditation and just learning from observation, and to minister to us, and we shall come out better equipped. So let's just make a short prayer. Father, I thank you for the beginning, and the end is better than the beginning. We pray that at the end, Lord, we shall be inspired to work better, do your will, and use our skill to glorify your name. In Jesus' name, amen. So let's get started then. Yeah, I like doing this. Let's just skip that. So why am I doing this? First of all, the question I'm going to ask is, what is the relevance of what we do in the tech team, in the ministry, before you even think about excellence in it? What we ought to do is think of ourselves as the unseen ushers. We sort of like stand at the door and invite people to come in, but now we are not doing it physically. We're using artwork as a representation of that. The difference between art and science is now art is practical. I'm not saying science is not practical, but science is more of a discovery process. Now art seeks to just take what has been discovered through science and put it into practical application. Doesn't want to think so much, just wants to go with what works. And I think at the end of the day, I didn't want to put so much, because sometimes it's just through trial and error that you get what works and what looks good, and that should be the aim. So you don't have to follow everything I do. Everyone has their own style. That's what I'm saying. I'm not here to just give you a fixed way of doing things, but maybe just discuss and share one or two ideas on what may look better, what may not look good. So we're going to just talk about design a bit, the elements of design in brief, and I hope that through this we shall be more equipped, more encouraged to understand how to be intentional about what we do. If you know the principles or the building blocks behind what is a good poster, then you can be able to manipulate it according to your tastes. So at the end of it all, we're pursuing excellence in ministry, and maybe just go back to the verse which says that the man who is skilled in his work will stand before kings and not before obscure men. So it's time for us to arise and work. Moreover, there are workmen with you, stone cutters and masons of stone, and carpenters, and all men who are skillful in every kind of work, of the gold, the silver, the bronze, and the iron. There is no limit. Arise and work, and may the Lord be with you. That's what we're here to do as a team. So a little bit of, let's share ideas, let's talk, compare notes, make a poster, comment about it, and feel free to do your thing. Have the desire to get better. Basically, here is we're going to ask ourselves, is what I'm making appealing to the senses? So what is a poster? A poster is any piece of art. I've talked about artwork at the beginning, that is informative and decorative. So two key things there. We want to give information, but with a bit of style and a bit of taste. That's why I'm saying that I put something, maybe I should have put this point here. Does my work appeal to the senses? Does it give a feeling that I want to read more, I want to know more, because of the way you do it? We are focusing here on the how as well as the what. Both of them are important. We're not just saying that this message is important, but how I'm presenting it also matters. Is it appealing to the senses? So yeah, the heart of it all is effective communication, because if definitely we have what is appealing, if we have what is appealing, then it'll most likely communicate better, because somebody will be more eager to learn more about it. It will be an attractive force to that person. So communication is both verbal and nonverbal, and both of these two should work together. We cannot try and press across one message. How do I put it? The word is show, don't tell. I can't say I love you if I don't display it through actions. In a similar way, as ushers, we can't we can't set we can't yeah how do I put it? Everything is working together here in communication. Our words as well as the pictures, the colors. For those of you who have passed through these notes already, so everything is reinforcing each other. We cannot give contrasting pictures and words and colors. Everything is sort of like gelling together towards communicating one thing. So yeah, it's much easier than what I'm saying. So don't don't think so much about it. So yeah, it takes only 3 seconds. I love this quote. To make a first impression and requires 21 other opportunities to alter the perception of a bad first impression. Yes. Think about the first time you saw someone, and or rather think about what you think about somebody who's close to you. High chances are that that stuck from the first time you met or interacted with him or her. And it doesn't matter how many times he has changed. For example, if you met me in a suit, then you'd say I'm a very serious person. And then the day I make a joke, you just get shocked and say, I didn't know you could do such a thing. Why? Because of that first impression, and it requires 21 other opportunities to alter that bad first impression. So the image we portray about MSCU from our poster making is important, because in a way it's going to attract people to come, because they'll say that perhaps there is something meaningful inside here, and at the end of it all, it serves the kingdom. So don't feel like you don't have a role to play by making that poster, or don't feel overwhelmed by the work of making posters. Just know that you do have a role to play in the expansion of the kingdom, which is really central to God's heart. So yes, what are our tools finally? Let's get to the real deal. Words. Here we have both phrases and questions. We call them catchy phrases, or the phrases that will draw your attention. We have color. How much time do we have? Ooh, it's already 7 minutes. Color. We have under color. We have the type of the color you choose, the shade of the color, and the tone of the color. All of that's important. And images. So we start with images. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So just have a look at this picture and ask yourself the following questions. Because perhaps when you look at it more, you see a waterfall, someone lifting up his hands in a stream. And of course, the most common interpretations we'll have are maybe peace, tranquility, freedom because of the lifting up of hands. Peace and tranquility because a waterfall is basically a very peaceful, serene environment, no pressure, no stress. Allows you to meditate. And imagine you're getting all this just from looking at a photo, and all these thoughts have just emanated out of nowhere. Just to show how important images are towards communication. So I think that's with images. Color. Yes, in a similar fashion. Color has the power to influence our emotions, and the words continue while the words continue to interact with our intellect and thought process. As we continue to think about what the person has maybe asked or put across, in a way, the color will also have a role to play subconsciously. We don't have to think about it, because they have meanings derived from culture. Here's a couple of examples. Purple was a royalty color. Navy blue, dignity, authority. Blue, of course, brings that sense of tranquility we're talking about earlier on. Blue can also bring this sense of celestialness, because the sky is blue. So you think heavenly, you think majestic, so you can manipulate that in case you want to give a message that is focusing on that. Green, of course, growth, hope, fertility, success, positivity, basically. Red, of course, gives a sense of passion or danger, or sometimes love, although I think pink is better suited for that, just personally, and that's for an arbitrary reason as opposed to a really objective one. Black, I love the color black, as you can tell by the background of this slide. At the end I told you, personalize your work, make it fit you. Strength and power, executive color, of course, when it comes to administration, and that's why it gives this sense of power. That's why I like it. But this also gives a sense of rebellion and death, which is on the downside. But careless. White, lightness, purity, cleanliness, radiance. Stability from brown, you can get a sense of masculinity. It's a very dirty color, so it's like someone who's getting to work on the earth and getting sweaty and all that, but it can also give a sense of comfort. Friendship, simplicity. Don't ask me why. Depends on the culture you come from. Beige also gives this sense of earthly, classic, but it's a more of a warm, softish one as opposed to brown. I would go for beige if I want to communicate friendship as opposed to brown. Orange gives a sense of ambition and energy. Energy actually is the best, I think, in describing it. Also warmth and vibrance and all that. Like pink, of course, also in addition to romance and love, gives a sense of delicateness because it's a very feminine color as opposed to brown. Gentleness, tenderness, compassion. Bright yellow, cheer, optimism. Similar to green, but it's just a bit brighter and livens up the mood of the house. So you can see all this bring a sort of meaning, a sort of manipulation to our emotions that we don't realize. So there we have colorful people. Can't say I'm colorful. I'm very minimalistic. But you have colorful people who will have a lot of yellow and orange and maybe purple. I don't know, but red and all that, and this life, this feeling of energy and thrill. But then there'll be those guys who are a bit more authoritative and strict and a bit conservative with their colors, and maybe a bit of blue here to show that you're a bit of cool, and a bit of green maybe. So at the end of it all, it's about personalizing your work with the tool that you have. Attractiveness is what you do with what you have. So it's about just getting the mix that works for you, depending on what you have and the options that are available to you. So, but remember to work sparingly, unless you are so confident that it's gonna work and this is gonna pull it off. Because we don't want to look color clashing, as you've seen. I've tried to minimize the number of colors. Can imagine if I put every word to have a different color, it's just going to be messed up. It's not going to be having a sense of symmetry, and in a way, symmetry adds to beauty. So get the balance between symmetry and style. Symmetry basically sets the base for you to add on to it. That's why the black look good with in this slide. The black sets the background for you to add whatever you want and just make it a bit colorful. But have that symmetry first, then build up on that with color. It makes sense later on when you try it out and get some more critics from it. Alternate between light and dark shades, color. So yeah, this is a story. It's like we have like an introduction, a climax, anticlimax. A story is more interesting as opposed to just doing things the same way over and over again. So for us, our tools to do that is light and dark shades. A light color here, a dark color there, as opposed to just making it all bright or all dark. A bit of difference adds a bit of taste to it. And of course, yes, as you can see, you've been focusing on the words that are in yellow because different color also helps to add different emphasis. So in the you've seen I've talked a lot about color. Doesn't mean they're more important than images, but words. I've tried to do what I've said practically. Show, don't tell. So words communicate. These are just examples of words, nothing important really, but just to show that each of these words will give you a different feeling, or maybe a push to do something, a challenge to your thought process. That's the second word, or a feeling of love and comfort and security, or fear, depending on how you look at that, or anticipation, what we are anticipating, of course, as believers. So yeah, words phrases are useful in connecting with your emotions, really, depending on how you put it. And questions are really helpful and handy in capturing your interest. So maybe sometimes if you wanted to engage with your mind, if I wanted to do, maybe the topic is identity, and the first thing is, or rather, yeah, identity. Have you ever thought about the reason behind your existence? It captures my thought, and I'm like, okay, maybe I've never thought about it that deeply. What do you have to say? And it makes you, especially for the intellectual people, of course we are in the College of Health Sciences, makes you want to go and listen to the new idea, and in the process meet Christ. Paul would reason with people in the synagogue, and day and night challenge their thoughts and beliefs, and in the end would actually help them come to the realization that there's only one answer, and that is Jesus Christ our King. So it is good to reason. Come, let us reason together. So yes, our aim is to communicate with style. How much do I want to put? Okay, yeah, this is basically just a lot of questions I put so that you can make it sound very serious. But yeah, it's not about that serious, really. At the end of it all, just to know that the first thing you'll capture will matter the most. So no, nothing there. Okay, yeah, the first thing you capture will matter the most. So if it's a question, it will lead the mind of the reader towards that whole thinking process. If it is a brand name you want to build, if you want to make sure that people know about MSU, put MSU there, put it in bold so that people know MSU is around. If it's the speaker that you want to be seen clearly, put that contrasting color and make sure it is there. John Roge comes to MSU. If it is the topic that you want, that you feel will appeal, put it there. So depends on your preference, depends on what you want to achieve. If it's an encouragement to people, put it there. Come, let's do this. Come one, come all. Or if you want to attract people with, like, are you looking for a fellowship? Or depends on what you want to capture, really. But that first word will matter the most, and the rest will fall into place from the first word that you put. The fewer the better. So remember, everything works synergistically. Everything works synergistically. Just remember that. So we've looked at a couple of ways in which we can manipulate based on what interpretations that culture gives, the various colors, the various images, the various words. So words in this case is the quote-unquote verbal communication. Everything will bring a meaning to the reader. Just remember that. So your choice is important. Your choice of a photo is important. Ask yourself, what am I interpreting from this? When I look at it, how does it make me feel? Do I want to continue reading? So, and also include the time, the venue, and the date. So relax and have fun even as you think about this, and be yourself. Can I identify with my work? I know for sure I can identify with my work because I know I like to keep things simple in my posters and my basically everything, but also just add a bit of flavor here and there. This is not me. But at the end of it all, attractiveness is what you do with what you have, and whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as you're working for the Lord. So basically, to summarize, there are a couple of apps that are good. I prefer Canva. I think that's what Dorcas is using. You can discover more apps, just get to know more and have fun at it. There's so much to discover in life. God has given us so much taste and so much um, um, what okay, the word here is essential that is coming to my mind, but there's so much to which we can interact with our senses. So discover what looks good, discover what doesn't look good, and think about how you can manipulate it with what we have talked about so far. This is more of a discussion, really, as opposed to a teaching. So it's just a sharing of heart to heart, and I hope it helps. And you guys have it awesome. Let's make our final prayer. Lord, thank you for all that we have discussed, and we pray that you shall teach us to apply it. You shall lead the Spirit into seeing what works, what doesn't work. And with that of it all, Lord, let us draw people to your kingdom for your glory. In Jesus' name I've prayed. Amen.